In Germany, several workers were killed after a scaffolding fell down an elevator shaft.
Emergency responders rushed to the site to rescue trapped workers. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. congratulates the candidates who won this year's BSKE elections. Philippine Coast Guard warns Filipinos against pro-China propaganda. U.S. President Joe Biden signs the first-ever executive order for AI regulation. Israel Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejects global calls for a ceasefire. And Lionel Messi wins his 8th Ballon d'Or, cementing his legacy as one of the greatest football players in the world. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. extends his congratulations to the newly elected and re-elected barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan or BSK officials, emphasizing the importance of honesty and dedicated service to their constituents.
Isang panibagong pagkakataon na naman po ito upang makapagserbisyo sa mga Pilipino at sa ating bayan ng buong puso at higit pa sa abot ng ating makakaya. Maging tapat po tayo sa lahat ng oras. Lagi po nating unahin ang kapakanan ng sambayanan sapagkat sila po ang dahilan kung bakit nais nating magsilbi sa bayan.
The President recognizes the crucial role these BSK officials play in enhancing the well-being of their communities. He expresses his satisfaction with the successful and peaceful conduct of the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections or BSKE and extends his gratitude to the registered Filipino voters who took part in the polls. Chairperson of the Commission on Elections or COMELEC, George Erwin Garcia, notes that the BSKE proceeded smoothly and was generally marked by peace. The Commission has yet to determine the exact voter turnout, but anticipates it to be in the range of 70 to 75%. The Commission on Elections or COMELEC has issued a directive to suspend the proclamation of 25 candidates in Western Visayas who are contesting the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Regional Elections Director Dennis Ausan clarified that these aspirants were already aware of the pending cases against them. Among these cases, 21 candidates are facing disqualification charges, 3 have had their certificates of candidacy revoked, and 1 is considered a nuisance candidate. Brigadier General Sidney Villaflor of the Police Regional Office 6 has issued instructions to all provincial and city directors to take the necessary actions in response to this development.
The Commission on Elections, or COMELEC, has formally opened the bidding for the lease contract for a new automated election system for the 2025 midterm polls. According to COMELEC Chairperson George Garcia, the poll body has posted the bid on the Philippine government's electronic procurement system, or PhilGEPS. Garcia added that the procurement will include the hardware, software, transmissions, and internet voting for overseas Filipino workers. The COMELEC chief also raised the significance of converting the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections from manual to fully automated.
Wala pong duda kasi naman po yung mandato rin ng batas. Talagang dapat automated na election na po tayo sapagkat napakahirap po ng manual. Sipin niyo po, hindi bilangin niyo muna yung SK. Di o kaya kahit masabi mo unahin mo na yung kapital. Tapos SK, meron ka pa ibang plebisito.
COMELEC has proposed to the Congress the full automation of the barangay and youth polls, which resulted in the pilot test in 3 polling sites last October 30.
President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Japanese Prime Minister Fumio Kishida are scheduled to convene for a bilateral meeting at Malacanang Palace this Friday. Prime Minister Kishida's official visit to the Philippines is set for the 3rd to 4th of November. President Marcos will personally welcome Prime Minister Kishida and engage in discussions regarding various areas of mutual interest, including political, security, and economic cooperation. The two leaders will also share perspectives on regional and global matters, reaffirming the strong and enduring relationship between the Philippines and Japan.
The Philippines has sent observers to Japan and the United States' major military exercise dubbed Resolute Dragon. The said drills kicked off on October 14 and will end on October 31. Resolute Dragon is the latest demonstration of closer defense cooperation between Japan and the U.S. amid China's assertiveness in the region. Japan's military said almost 7,000 Japanese and American troops participated in the exercise as they rehearsed and strengthened their response to crisis with unity.
The World Economic Forum, or WEF, ranked the Philippines as the 7th growing remote work hub in its 2023 Nomad list. The Nomad list showcases the best places in the world to live and work and travel as a remote worker. WEF added that from the country's 5-year growth from 2018 to 2022, it showed a plus 78% growth. For 2023, the Philippines yields a plus 60% growth based on 10 months of data. The Marcos administration has been keen to urge businesses to come to the Philippines, noting the country's English-speaking workforce. This with the aim to transform the country into an investment destination.
The Armed Forces of the Philippines, or AFP, and National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea strongly denied China's new allegations of trespassing in the Bajo de Masinloc area. China said its naval and air forces tracked and warned the Philippine military vessel. But China claimed the Philippines ship entered the vicinity of Bajo de Masinloc without the approval of their government. AFP spokesman Colonel Medel Aguilar hit the Chinese government on Tuesday, asserting the Philippines cannot trespass in its maritime zone. He also clarified that a Philippine vessel BRP Conrado Yap went to the perimeter of Bajo de Masinloc for a sovereign patrol. The AFP official asserted China cannot interfere with the legitimate operations of the Philippines. Aguilar also said the vessel never encountered any restriction from Chinese authorities as Bajo de Masinloc is within the Philippines' exclusive economic zone. The National Task Force on the West Philippine Sea similarly disproved China's latest accusation, saying under international law, the Philippines has every right to patrol the length and breadth of the West Philippine Sea, which necessarily includes Bajo de Masinloc.
The Philippine Coast Guard issues a warning about pro-China narratives circulating on social media. Elijah Villanueva tells us more.
These pro-China narratives aim to manipulate public opinion and divert attention from China's actions in the West Philippine Sea. According to the PCG, one such narrative suggests that speaking out against Beijing's aggressive tactics in the disputed waters will lead to war. However, the Coast Guard debunks this claim, emphasizing that exposing such actions in the WPS serves to inform government officials and Filipinos about China's violations of international law. Meanwhile, National Security Advisor Eduardo Año criticized the Chinese government for exaggerating the Philippines' patrol operations near Scarborough Shoal, which Beijing claims to be Filipino vessels trespassing. Año stressed that the Philippines has every right to patrol all areas of the West Philippine Sea, including the shoal, as it falls within the nation's exclusive economic zone. Elijah Villanueva for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The Department of Foreign Affairs, or DFA, has reported that a family of 6 Filipinos and 2 Palestinian relatives have returned to the Gaza Strip due to the closed border crossing to Egypt. The family mentioned that their decision to return was influenced by the lack of sufficient space in the southern part of Gaza. Currently, the border only allows the passage of humanitarian aid, and foreign nationals are unable to cross. As for the 2 missing Filipinos in Israel, there is no information available yet about their status. But there are speculations that they may have been taken as hostages by Hamas. The Philippine National Police has recorded more than 200 incidents of violence related to this year's Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections. Vin Pascua reports.
The Philippine National Police or PNP has recorded 237 incidents of violence suspected to be linked to the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan elections or BSKE. PNP spokesperson Police Colonel Jean Fajardo says 35 of these incidents have been confirmed election-related incidents while 99 are non-election related. She adds that 103 are suspected election-related incidents that the PNP is still investigating. Of the 35 validated incidents, 17 were shooting incidents, 4 were mauling, 2 kidnapping, 2 light threats, 2 harassments, and armed encounter, indiscriminate firing, robbery, among others. Fajardo says that even after the elections, tensions remain high in some parts of the Philippines. She asserts the entire Philippine National Police is still on full alert to focus on the post-election scenario.
Hindi natin maiwasan minsan sa isang eleksyon ay may mga natatalo at maaaring may mga kandidato pa rin pong hindi makakatanggap ng kanilang pagtatalo. But sana nga po ay tanggapin nila, so maaaring magkaroon pa rin ng kaguluhan, magkaroon ng harassment. So yan yung mga posibilidad na tinitingnan po natin. And of course, pag nakaupo na po ay tinitingnan pa rin po na hanggat hindi po nakakaupo officially yung mga nanalo po ay lahat po yan tinitingnan.
The PNP is also looking into the transport of the ballots and other election paraphernalia back to the COMELEC hub.
Transportation po ang involved dyan. Definitely po, i-escortan pa rin po ng mga pulis natin dahil ayaw natin mangyari yung nagkakaroon ng ballot snatching along the way, yung mga nanakawin at iaharas po yung mga guro pa rin natin na nagbibilang at nagka-canvas ng votes. At syempre, hanggang proclamation po yan.
Vin Pascua for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Coming up, Sergei Shoigu has some choice words for the West. The United Kingdom is gearing up for the Global AI Summit. And Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu rejects global calls for a ceasefire. Stay tuned, Mata ng Agila International will return for more global news.
Amin pong pinakamamahal na tagapamahalang pangkalahatan, ang kapatid na Eduardo B. Manalo.
We would like to greet our beloved Executive Minister, Brother Eduardo B. Manalo,
with heartfelt gratitude and sincerest thanks to our Lord God.
From the bottom of our hearts,
Happy birthday po!
Happy birthday po!
Happy birthday po!
Happy birthday po! Happy birthday po! We love you so much po!
Happy birthday po! We love you so much po!
Happy birthday po! We love you so much po!
Happy birthday po! We love you so much po!
And welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. Papua New Guinea welcomes Hungarian President Katalin Novak with a 21-gun salute as she arrives in Port Moresby for a bilateral meeting with Prime Minister James Marape. Teresa Quinola has that story.
Prime Minister James Marape and President Katalin Novak of Hungary meet at Nature Park in the capital city. Novak offers 50 educational scholarships to Papua New Guinea students at various tertiary institutes in Hungary.
We have to base our bilateral relationship on this mutual respect, what we lack so often in our international relationships. And just as I told you, we don't have many natural resources that you do have, but what we have is education. We have a quite high-level education in Hungary. And though I know that for you, it is very precious that you give access to education to the younger generations.
Marape matches the scholarship offer with 50 students sourced from the Science, Technology, Engineering, and Mathematics Government National School Programs of Excellence.
We, through European Union facility, we built Wewak Hospital, we did retire Gorok Hospital, and other hospitals that are on foot. We're accessing that from European Union facilities. Her chairmanship in European Union next year would be an important pointer to continue point Europe to existence of Papua New Guinea in the middle of the Indo-Pacific focus.
Marape gives Novak a tour of the park where the Hungarian president cuddles a rescued baby wallaby. President Novak and her team then flies to Manus for a provincial visit to explore the beauty of its coral reefs, pristine rivers, and relaxing environment. Novak says she will advocate further Papua New Guinea when she assumes chairmanship of the European Union in 2024.
From Port Moresby, Papua New Guinea, Teresa Quinola, Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Chinese government censors have issued directives for official social media accounts to be vigilant against overly enthusiastic comments regarding the late former Premier Li Keqiang as the nation prepares for his funeral. These instructions also include guidelines on how to report information about Li's death, emphasizing the use of content exclusively from state-run sources like Xinhua or the People's Daily. The warning against overly effusive comments reflects concerns that such expressions may appear as exaggerated praise, masking underlying criticism. In China, the passing of political leaders is considered highly sensitive, given historical connections between such events and political unrest. One such event was the 1989 Tiananmen Square protests that followed the death of reformist leader Hu Yaobang.
Russia's President Vladimir Putin blamed the Ukrainian and Western intelligence services for engineering a riot at Dagestan's Makhachkala Airport. Hundreds of anti-Israel protesters were seen running through the terminal. Local reports said the protesters chanted and waved Palestinian flags. They also tried to stop a plane from Tel Aviv from landing. Putin also called on Russian law enforcement to take firm action after the said riot.
Маємо тверезо оцінювати російську систему. Вони мобілізували всі сили, щоб спробувати не втратити захоплене в Україні, але свою територію при цьому забруднили таким рівнем ненависті та деградації, що вже вдруге за цей рік в Росії втрачається контроль за подіями. То заколотники йдуть на Москву, і ніхто їх не зупиняє, то випаровується вертикаль влади в Дагестані і відбувається справжній погром.
Authorities arrested over 80 suspects. Russian police also said at least 2 people are in critical condition after sustaining injuries at the airport riot.
In related news, Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelenskyy says Russia is losing control of events in Makhachkala. Zelenskyy also rebuffs Russian President Vladimir Putin's accusations that Kyiv orchestrated the riot in Dagestan. He says Putin is trying to shift responsibility and claims Russia has always been the aggressor.
Я хочу обратить внимание глав всех регионов, руководителей правоохранительных органов и специальных служб на необходимость твердых, своевременных и
In an interview, Zelensky's aides revealed the West has denied financial aid to Ukraine. His aides also said the West left Zelenskyy without the means to win the war, but only the means to survive it. Analysts say the war between Israel and Hamas has drawn the attention of the West away from Zelenskyy and Ukraine.
Russian Defense Minister Sergei Shoigu has accused the United States of intentionally eroding the foundations of international security and that the West seeks to expand the conflict to Asia-Pacific region.
Провоцируя острый кризис в Европе, Запад стремится распространить конфликтный потенциал на Азиатско-Тихоокеанский регион, причем
Speaking at the Xiangshan Defense Forum, Shoigu claims NATO is covering up a buildup of forces in the region with an ostentatious desire for dialogue. He also believes NATO countries are undermining the role of Southeast Asian nations with the emergence of AUKUS and Quad. The United States has yet to comment on these remarks. Meanwhile, military officials in Kyiv have reported that Russia has increased its troop presence around the city of Bakhmut in eastern Ukraine and has shifted its forces from a defensive posture to an offensive one. They also claim to have attacked a key air defense system along the western coast of Crimea. In response, Russia's defense ministry has asserted that their air defense system successfully intercepted and destroyed 8 Ukrainian cruise missiles over Crimea.
President Recep Tayyip Erdogan vowed to stand up to imperialist forces Sunday as he led Turkish centenary celebrations in the shadow of Israel's escalating war with Hamas militants in Gaza.
Türkiye Cumhuriyeti'nin mesut, muvaffak ve muzaffer olmasının önüne hiçbir emperyalist güç geçemeyecektir. Yeter ki biz
Erdogan took center stage during day-long events that honored the republic's founding and played up the achievement of his Islamic-rooted party that has run Turkey since 2002. He also paid tribute to the life and legacy of military commander and statesman Mustafa Kemal Atatürk. Atatürk is highly respected in Turkish society for driving out invading forces and building a brand new nation out of the fallen Ottoman Empire's ruins, eventually becoming a proud member of the US-led NATO Defense Alliance and a beacon of democratic hopes in the Middle East. They established Turkey as a westward-facing nation that stripped religion from its state institutions and tried to forge a modern new identity out of its myriad ethnic groups. Atatürk's social and geopolitical transformation of the overwhelmingly Muslim nation created divisions that weigh on Turkish politics to this day.
Balkanlardan Kafkasya'ya, Asya'dan Afrika'ya, Türkistan'dan Filistin'e kadar nerede gözü yaşlı bir mazlum, mağdur ve ihtiyaç sahibi varsa yardımına koşan, elinden tutup kaldıran, derdine derman olan Türkiye'dir.
Erdogan ended the day by overseeing 100 Navy ships pass through the Bosphorus, while screaming fighter jets performed aerobatics overhead. Turkish state television has also scrapped the broadcast of concerts and other festivities because of the alarming human tragedy in Gaza. Erdogan's lifelong defense of Palestinian rights has turned him into a hero across the Muslim world.
Bu tavrımızı daha önce Kore'de, Kıbrıs'ta, Irak, Suriye, Libya, Yemen'de ve son olarak da Karabağ'da gösterdik. Bugün de aynı dirayetli duruşu Gazi'nin kimse el süremez dediği Filistin ve Gazze için sergiliyor, Gazze halkına yardım etmeye çalışıyoruz. Dün 1,5 milyonu aşkın insanımızın katılımıyla gerçekleşen Büyük Filistin mitingi bunun bir parçasıydı.
The United Kingdom is gearing up for its Global Leaders Gathering on AI on November 1 and 2. The two-day summit will be the first of its kind, especially on artificial intelligence. Among those invited to the event are foreign political leaders, tech industry figures, academics, and others. The event is set to be attended by UK Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, United States Vice President Kamala Harris, European Union Chief Ursula von der Leyen, and United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. The summit is set to focus on growing fears on the AI frontiers.
Get this wrong, and AI could make it easier to build chemical or biological weapons. Terrorist groups could use AI to spread fear and destruction on an even greater scale. Criminals could exploit AI for cyber attacks, disinformation, fraud, or even child sexual abuse. And in the most unlikely but extreme cases, there is even the risk that humanity could lose control of AI completely, through the kind of AI sometimes referred to as superintelligence.
Meanwhile, the White House also announced its own plan to set safety standards for the deployment of AI.
The United States says it is not supporting a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict. It is, however, confident that at least 100 humanitarian aid trucks will get into war-torn Gaza per day. Ralph Cornell tells us more.
The United States is not backing current calls for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas conflict. The White House says pauses to get aid into Gaza should be considered instead. National Security Council spokesman John Kirby says a ceasefire is not the smartest solution right now.
We do not believe that a ceasefire is the right answer right now. We believe that a ceasefire right now benefits Hamas. And Hamas is the only one that would gain from that right now, as Israel continues to prosecute their operations against Hamas leadership. What we have said should be considered and explored are temporary localized humanitarian pauses to allow aid to get to specific populations and maybe even to help with the evacuation of people that want to get out, move more to the south. We do support that. We do not support a ceasefire at this time.
Meanwhile, Kirby says the country is confident of adding to the number of aid trucks getting into Gaza through the Rafah crossing with Egypt. This with around 45 getting through on Sunday.
Well, I think this first phase that we talked to the Israelis about is trying to get it up to about 100 a day. But that's a first goal. We know that even that, which is a dramatic improvement over where we are right now, is still not going to be enough.
Ralph Cornell for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Speaker Mike Johnson further stoked congressional debates over aiding Israel, further deepening divisions between the GOP House and Democratic Senate on an issue that most members of Congress otherwise agree on. Johnson's $14.3 billion aid package for Israel, excluding Ukraine assistance and other bipartisan priorities, drew immediate flack from the Democratic Party. President Joe Biden's party lined up to blast Johnson's plan, noting that it raids IRS funding from the last Congress Democrat-led Inflation Reduction Act and would likely hike spending as a result. That makes the bill doomed in the Senate from the start, depriving the House of an opportunity to potentially jam the upper chamber with a bill too popular for Democrats to resist. It's not hard to envision a standoff over the dueling aid strategies, the House GOP's limited Israel bill against a more sweeping Senate aid package, hoping that one even gets past the lower house. The clash is escalating as a government shutdown looms in less than 3 weeks should the two chambers fail to agree on federal funding policies.
United States President Joe Biden has issued an executive order that sets new standards for artificial intelligence, or AI, safety and security.
But we're going to see more technological change in the next 10, maybe the next 5 years than we've seen in the last 50 years. And that's a fact. And the most consequential technology of our time, artificial intelligence, is accelerating that change. It's going to accelerate it at warp speed.
Biden's executive order requires companies developing foundation AI models to notify the federal government. Companies should also share the results of all safety tests before they deploy their AI systems to the public. Biden says developers of the most powerful AI systems should prove that their products pose no national security or safety risks to the public. The use and development of artificial intelligence has sparked a global debate around concerns about giving too much control to algorithms. The Hollywood industry and writers also voiced out their concerns about the ethical use of AI systems in their work.
A United Nations official says the number of aid workers killed in Gaza is the highest he's seen in a conflict within such a short time. Philippe Lazzarini says more than 6 of his colleagues have died trying to help those caught up in the war between Israel and Hamas. Thomas Eyelikeness with this report.
It's a risky job. These people distributing relief goods to civilians displaced by the fighting literally put their lives on the line every day. Philippe Lazzarini heads the Agency for Palestinian Refugees. He denounces the conditions that aid workers face.
I lost 64 colleagues in just over 3 weeks. The last tragic passing confirmed was 2 hours ago. Samir, head of security and safety in the Middle region, was killed with his wife and 8 children.
He says the situation is unprecedented.
This is the highest number of UN aid workers killed in a conflict in such a short time.
At the Gaza border with Egypt, a convoy of trucks loaded with supplies sits idle. Lazzarini says this is wrong. He says not enough aid trucks are getting into Gaza to meet the demand.
The system in place to allow aid into Gaza is geared to fail unless there is political will to make the flow of supplies meaningful, matching the unprecedented humanitarian needs.
Calls for a ceasefire have been dismissed. The U.S. says now is not the time to put down arms, and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is adamant Israel's offensive will continue.
Calls for a ceasefire are calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas, to surrender to terrorism, to surrender to barbarism. That will not happen.
All of this means that aid workers on the ground in Gaza will continue to work under treacherous conditions. And it's unlikely there'll be much of an increase in the amount of supplies allowed into the troubled war zone. Thomas Eyelikeness from Atanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has ruled out a ceasefire in Gaza, declaring that this was a time for war as he praised the rescue of a single hostage as evidence of how effective Israel's current offensive at freeing Israeli captives while delivering crushing blows to Hamas.
אמש שחררו כוחותינו משבי חמאס את הוראית אורי מגידיש. אורי נחטפה בבוקר השחור של 7 באוקטובר. ברוך שובך הביתה אורי. אני מברך את השב"כ ואת צה"ל על ההישג החשוב והמרגש הזה, הישג שמבטא את המחויבות שלנו להביא לשחרור כל החטופים. עם ישראל כולו מצדיע לשב"כ ומצדיע לצה"ל.
The Israeli Prime Minister congratulated the Israel Defense Forces and Security Agency Shin Bet for freeing Ori Megidish, an army private, but Israeli joy was tempered by a Hamas video of 3 other captives that remain in captivity. Megidish was freed 3 weeks after she was abducted with more than 220 other hostages, as Israel escalated its ground operation in Gaza. Netanyahu said the army's advance through Gaza opened opportunities to free hostages, despite many hostage relatives favor accepting a Hamas offer to swap them for about 5,000 Palestinians, including Islamist militants in Israeli prisons. The Prime Minister said that calls for a ceasefire meant asking Israel to surrender to terrorism and barbarism. He called Hamas militants monsters and said Israel would continue to pursue them.
I want to make clear Israel's position regarding a ceasefire. Just as the United States would not agree to a ceasefire after the bombing of Pearl Harbor or after the terrorist attack of 9/11, Israel will not agree to a cessation of hostilities with Hamas after the horrific attacks of October 7th. Calls for a ceasefire are calls for Israel to surrender to Hamas, to surrender to terrorism, to surrender to barbarism. That will not happen. Ladies and gentlemen, the Bible says that there is a time for peace and a time for war. This is a time for war.
Up next, Join us for Net 25 special coverage of the worldwide lingap sa mamamayan. Argentinians frustrated over fuel shortages. And the worldwide shift to green energy is inevitable. Bata ng Agila International will be back after a short break.
Makaka-relate kay you?
Menopause. Yes. Meron ka bang nararamdaman ng mga signs ng menopause?
Menopause really happens. In my case, I had a condition called endometriosis.
Oh. Miss Corina, ganda po ng hair nyo. Ano pong shampoo nyo?
Mapa-senior man kay you?
My apos are here. They're here with me and they give me such joy. And so, kung hindi ako magtatrabaho, how could I spoil them?
O Gen Z?
Nar is actually an accent from Australia. So like when you say no, you don't say no. They say nar.
Bida kayo dito.
Sumay!
Let's just always choose to be kind.
Kaya ugaliin ang tumutok kung saan masaya at maganda ang simula ng araw. 10 a.m. to 12, Lunes hanggang Biyernes, kada umaga. This
The Iglesia ni Cristo under the Care for Humanity project has again helped thousands of people who are struggling to meet the cost of living, this time across the United Kingdom. From Europe, here's Jericho Danielle Season for the report.
We are living in an environment of economic difficulties. The spike in the cost of living has hit home and is now a global cause for concern.
But in London, United Kingdom, a charity movement spearheaded by the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ is happening here at ILEC Conference Centre in Earls Court to address these ongoing struggles. Invitations were extended to communities and charitable organisations across the UK, with a crowd of nearly 3,000 attendees assembled here. Today, the members of the Iglesia ni Cristo are giving away 1,000 care packages containing non-perishable groceries and self-care items. There are also food parcels, a gallery, and a host of live musical entertainment. The focus of this year's work is geared towards helping smaller charities who are struggling to maintain their services, as well as community support groups who are in need of help.
Donating our time and sharing our resources to support those around us doesn't only connect us, it is also an opportunity to break down social barriers and build a more cohesive community.
In support of their local communities, the Church of Christ plays an active part in society through various acts of humanitarian projects. This year's Care for Humanity event is launched in commemoration of the 50th year of the Iglesia ni Cristo in Europe.
Well, the foundation, that is Felix Y. Manalo Foundation, is incredibly good. It has helped a lot of people, not only our own country people, but other places around the world.
So I've been hugely impressed by what I've seen so far today. I didn't know what to expect, but to have been presented with such a worldwide push to support people in need, it really touches my heart.
So just to see everyone coming together collectively, sharing the kindness, I felt a lot of love in that room when I walked in. And just seeing how the younger generation is so involved in the care for humanity and what is happening on a daily basis. And their songs were beautiful. At the end of it, I was equally surprised because I got a beautiful care package, which I wasn't even expecting.
Care for humanity gives so much impact to the people who I've seen today here in Elsco, and I'm so proud to be part of it.
This event is very helpful in the sense that it gives everybody, wherever they are in the world, a sense of belongingness, a sense of participation, that they know that they will not be alone wherever they are in the world.
I felt like it was really nice that the ones who were out there on the forefront doing all of this, they were being appreciated and they were being made special, and it was very nice to see that.
They make you feel like
part of the family.
Part of the family.
Yeah.
We're all family, right? That's a nice, warm feeling to know that you have people that you could go around.
I think it's an excellent idea of the whole giving process, and I've not opened my care package, so I'm not sure what's
I haven't opened it as yet, so
I'm not sure what's in it, but I'm sure it will help towards our whole household.
On behalf of Ambassador Teodoro Locsin Jr. and on behalf of my colleagues at the Philippine Embassy in London, we would like to thank the Iglesia Ni Cristo, Church of Christ, for this wonderful initiative of this gift-giving project, Care for Humanity, which will benefit our members of the community here in the United Kingdom who are most in need of support.
From London, Great Britain, Jericho Daniel Sison, Batanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
To close out Filipino-American History Month, the Philippine Consulate-General in New York invited two authors to read excerpts from their books. Net 25's Joanne Soriano has that story.
October is known as Filipino-American History Month to commemorate the first documented arrival of Filipinos to the continental United States over 430 years ago at Morro Bay in California. This month-long event brings awareness to the achievements of Filipinos in American history, which tonight was celebrated with a book reading at the Philippine Consulate-General in New York.
We're actually very honored to have these two ladies with us today because we really want to promote celebrations and events such as this to highlight Filipino-American History Month and the contributions that the Filipino-American community has given to the United States.
Phoebe Andes read from her book From Sweet Potatoes to French Fries, A Filipino Nurse's Odyssey, where she reflects on her childhood in the mountains of the Philippines during World War II, to becoming a nurse and eventually advocacy for Philippine nurses in the U.S. As the founder and second president of the Philippine Nurses Association of America, we asked her how she feels to be part of this important piece of history.
Very happy, very proud that I was one of those who started an organization that now has become one of the most dynamic Philippine Association in United States.
Catherine Serrano, a filmmaker and partner in a production company, is the author of the children's book Kalayaan, Filipina War Heroines During World War II.
I actually wrote this book for my younger self. I didn't really know a lot about our history and culture, being first gen. So I really wanted to learn more about our history, and as I found the women that contributed to World War II, I was like, oh, this is amazing. I wanted to make sure that the reader can see themselves in our stories, to know that, they are also a part of history.
In New York, Joanne Soriano for Batanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
In Panama, President Laurentino Cortizo announces a ban on new metal mining concessions. However, he maintains a contract with First Quantum Minerals. Quantum Minerals is the Vancouver-based company whose Caribbean copper mines sparked demonstrations over potential environmental impacts. Such protests have clashed with police. Rose Papa Angeles tells us more.
Thousands of Panamanians take to the streets demanding that the contract with Quantum Minerals be repealed. The Canadian company operates the largest copper mine in Central America. Demonstrations began a week ago. They have drawn thousands of people. Analysts say this is an unusual occurrence in the country of 4.2 million inhabitants. Protests intensified after Cortizo signed a bill establishing the mining contract. The Panamanian Supreme Court declared the original contract unconstitutional in 2017. 2017. However, the government argues that the new version sets out a minimum annual contribution from the mining company to the state of $375 million. This is 10 times the amount of the initial agreement. The company and the government also point out that the mine generates 8,000 immediate jobs and 40,000 indirect jobs. The contract allows Quantum Minerals to operate on Panama's Caribbean coast for 20 years, with the chance to extend for another 20. Rose Papaangelis from Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Police in London have arrested dozens of climate protesters who staged a slow march through the British capital. Demonstrators from the group Just Stop Oil say they will stage similar marches in the city for the next 3 weeks. London officers took 62 people into custody as they walked slowly in the road around Parliament Square for about 10 minutes. The climate group wants an end to new oil and gas exploration projects in the North Sea. The government has just issued 27 new oil and gas licenses for the region. Just Stop Oil has staged numerous protests aimed at disrupting events, institutions, and aspects of daily life. The actions have resulted in the arrest of thousands of activists, and more than 100 people have been jailed. Protesters say they will continue to risk arrest until the people they say are the real criminals are prosecuted, the people allowing new oil and gas exploration. Last year, the UK government granted police new anti-protest powers. Those measures came after years of disruptive demonstrations by environmental activists.
Drivers in Argentina are having a tough time getting a tank of fuel for their vehicles. A fuel shortage has left many motorists frustrated as scores of filling stations have run out of diesel. Fuel shortage is the result of high seasonal demand and production problems at the country's oil refineries. The shortage began weeks ago in several cities. It reached a peak on the weekend in Buenos Aires when petrol stations ran out of fuel in a matter of hours. Motorists who do find filling stations that still have diesel face long lineups. The shortage is also hurting farmers who have run out of fuel for their tractors as they get ready to plant soybeans and late-season corn. The government has told oil companies to solve the supply problem or face a ban on crude oil exports. Several workers are dead in the northern German city of Hamburg when a scaffolding collapsed at a building site. Jeff Sanidad has the details.
Hamburg Fire Brigade says 3 are dead and 4th person is believed trapped in the rubble after the accident. A 5th laborer has been critically injured. The scaffolding suddenly broke apart in an 8-story high elevator shaft at 9 a.m. local time. The cause of the collapse has not yet been determined. Some 70 emergency responders rushed to the site seeking to rescue the trapped worker. Report says there are about 700 workers employed at that site. Jeff Sanidad for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Coming right up, 3 Chinese astronauts returned from their most recent space expedition. Lionel Messi makes his case as football's GOAT. And Fleabag and other plays can be watched live in Manila. Catch more news in business, tech, sports, and entertainment when we return.
Best Public Affairs Program. And the star goes to Open for Business Net 25.
It is a signal to the world that we are open for business.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Ako po ang inyong katuwang, tungkol sa usaping ito.
Nasa puso dapat ng Pilipino to love what is Filipino.
Kaya dapat ihayag ng saloobin.
Kahit gaano kasi karami yung doktor natin, kung may bayad din, baliwala din.
Paano makakabili ang Pilipino ng bigas?
Himayin ang hinaing.
Gaano karaming pera bang kailangan mo para maging masaya ka?
Alamin ang pwedeng gawin.
So I think the lesson is, pag may fake news, i-correct ka agad ng people concerned.
Sagutin mo agad. Mag-reality check tayo.
Check yun.
Check.
Check na check.
Double check. Check the check tayo dyan.
FTX founder Sam Bankman-Fried testified that he believed that the cryptocurrency exchange was solvent at the time he tweeted FTX is fine. 4 days after his tweet, his company declared bankruptcy. During his 6 hours of testimony, Bankman-Fried admitted he made mistakes that hurt FTX's customers and employees, but he argued he did not steal customers' money. His defense lawyer's decision to make Bankman-Fried testify in his own defense is risky as it opens him up to cross-examination. Legal experts say Bankman-Fried's testimony was intended to put cloud on the statements of his former close confidants that the former FTX founder lied to give customers false assurance. General Motors has struck a deal with the United Auto Workers Union to end the 6-week strike in the U.S. The tentative agreement follows similar deals at Ford and Chrysler maker Stellantis, the other 2 car makers affected by walkouts. Nearly 50,000 workers in dozens of sites were involved in the action, the first in the union's history to target all 3 firms at once. U.S. President Joe Biden welcomed the deal, hailing the deal as great.
Just spoken with President Fain of the United Auto Workers, and let me say a few words about UAW and the big 3 automakers, Ford, General Motors, and Stellantis. They have reached a historic agreement and a hard-fought agreement that was really battled for a while, but it was all done in good faith. And these record agreements reward auto workers who gave up much to keep the industry working.
Mr. Biden had visited a picket line at the start of the strike to express support for the workers' cause, becoming what is believed to be the first sitting president in modern times to do so. General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis have all now agreed to pay raises of roughly 25% over the 4-year term of the new contracts, as well as other changes, including making it easier for so-called temporary staff to transition to full-time and receive full benefits. For the lowest paid workers, the changes could mean pay jumps of more than 150% by the end of the deals, according to the union. Three Chinese astronauts returned to Earth on Tuesday morning after 6 months aboard China's Tiangong space station. China's state media says the Chinese space crew emerged in good health from the return capsule that landed in the Gobi Desert. A fresh crew replaced them last week after the Zhenzhou 17 mission blasted off from the Jiquan launch site. China made its first crewed space mission in 2003 and plans to put astronauts on the moon before 2030.
Argentina captain Lionel Messi won a record 8th Ballon d'Or for the best player in the world. The Argentinian superstar forward beat Norway's UEFA Player of the Year and treble winner Erling Haaland of Manchester City to the prestigious prize. Inter Miami's Messi, who last won the award in 2021, played a pivotal role in guiding Argentina to their first World Cup title in 36 years when they beat defending champions France in the final last year. The 36-year-old is now 3 Ballon d'Or ahead of rival Cristiano Ronaldo, who won the last of his 5 trophies in 2017. Messi has now finished among the top 3 a record 14 times in total, finishing runner-up on 5 occasions. Spain and Barcelona midfielder Aitana Bonmati has won the Women's Ballon d'Or for the first time. The 25-year-old enjoyed a hugely successful year as she helped her club triumph in the Spanish top flight and Champions League, and she also helped her country win the World Cup in the summer. She was also crowned UEFA's Player of the Year back in August. Bonmati scored 3 goals at the tournament in Australia and New Zealand as Spain went on to beat England in the final. She has now won 4 league titles with Barcelona and 2 Champions Leagues. This was the 5th edition of the Women's Ballon d'Or, with Bonmati's Spain and Barcelona teammate Alexia Putellas winning the past 2. The Cultural Center of the Philippines' partnership with the National Theatre Live proved to be a major success when it launched last month with the filmed West End production of Jan Martel's Life of Pi. Stephanie Mayo has the story.
The second installment of the CCP National Theatre Live program, which happened today, October 31st, is London West End's Fleabag, which became a record-breaking box office success with sold-out screenings. Due to public demand, CCP and Ayala Malls opened another cinema in Greenbelt to host 2 more screenings for Fleabag, which quickly sold out with public clamors for additional ones. Fleabag is Phoebe Waller-Bridge's one-woman show. She stars as the title character, an angry, free-spirited, and confused young woman in London. It became a huge hit and was eventually adapted into a BBC television show and received widespread acclaim from critics, earning heaps of Emmy and Golden Globe awards, and was touted as one of the greatest comedy series of all time. CCP National Live Theatre will bring the best of British theatre every last Tuesday of the month until May 2024. The third installment, which will play in November, is Anton Chekhov's The Seagull. Stephanie Mayo for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The Iglesia ni Cristo has once again conducted the worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan this year. Net25 joined in the special coverage of the event like in previous years. We have our very own Nina with the story.
The worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan by the Iglesia ni Cristo once again proved their compassion, love, and care for others by providing assistance to those in need around the world. This year, the assistance provided by the Iglesia ni Cristo extended to various sectors of society, including senior citizens, students and teachers, as well as indigenous people, OFWs, and immigrants. The worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan also reached countries abroad like Mexico, Malawi, Canada, Uganda, and many more. In addition to care packages, the activity also includes livelihood and employment opportunities through eco-farming projects and sustainable livelihood programs under the UNLAD International. The worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan was made possible with the support of the Felix Y. Manalo Foundation. This is also part of the birthday celebration of the Executive Minister of the Iglesia ni Cristo Church of Christ, Brother Eduardo V. Manalo. Net25 talents, including Corina Sanchez Rojas, Alex Santos, Ali Soto, Emma Tiglao, Robin Padilla, Tony Petgaba, Pia Guanyo Mago, and Love Añuver are all part of the special 4-hour telecast of the worldwide Lingap sa Mamamayan. You can watch the worldwide Lingap special coverage later on Net25, following our show and on Net25 social media platforms. There will also be a replay tomorrow, Wednesday, from 1 to 5 p.m. exclusively on Net25.
And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Gianna Llanes.
I am Nina Richie Alago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Thank you for choosing Mata ng Agila International, your trusted news source, connecting you to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25 TV.